The Battle of Thermopylae took place in 480 BCE at the narrow coastal pass of Thermopylae in northern Greece, between the Greek city-states and the Persian Empire. This was the first major battle of King Xerxes I of Persia's massive invasion of Greece, which followed the failed campaign of his father Darius I. Though the Persians ultimately claimed victory at Thermopylae, the battle is best remembered for the unmatched heroism of the Greek forces, particularly the Spartan warriors led by King Leonidas I. As with the Battle of Marathon, most of our knowledge of Thermopylae comes from the writings of the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. Xerxes sought to avenge the Persian defeat at Marathon 10 years earlier and aimed to expand the Persian Empire by conquering Greece. Even before the battle, Xerxes had managed to subdue much of Greece through intimidation or diplomacy. The rest of the Greek states, led by the militaristic city-state of Sparta, abandoned the Thessalian border and chose to mount a defense at Thermopylae. Thermopylae was a narrow mountain pass flanked by towering cliffs on one side and the sea on the other. It served as a strategic gateway between northern and southern Greece. To counter a possible naval attack by the Persian fleet, the Greek navy patrolled the seas between Skiathos and the Greek mainland. Herodotus claims that Xerxes' army numbered 2.6 million, though modern historians consider this an exaggeration. In contrast, the Greek force numbered only about 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers. The two sides clashed for 3 days in fierce combat. Due to the pass's narrowness, the Persian forces could not use their full numbers. On the second day, a Greek traitor named Ephialtes revealed a hidden mountain path to Xerxes that allowed the Persians to flank the Greek army. Learning of this betrayal, most Greek forces retreated, but King Leonidas chose to stay behind with his personal guard of 300 elite Spartan warriors, along with 700 Thespians and 400 Thebans, all of whom volunteered to fight to the death. Leonidas fell in battle, and the remaining Greek warriors retreated to a small hill where they made their last stand. Surrounded by Persian forces, they were eventually overwhelmed and killed. To this day, historians debate Leonidas's decision not to retreat. Some suggest it was a strategic move to delay the Persians and allow other Greeks to escape. Others believe it was driven by the Spartan code of honor, to fight and die rather than surrender. Following their victory at Thermopylae, the Persians marched south, captured Athens, and destroyed the city. But the Greek navy retaliated later that year, crushing the Persian fleet in the Battle of Salamis, ultimately ending Xerxes' ambitions to conquer Greece. The Legend of 300, a story of unbreakable resolve. This is a tale from an era of mighty kingdoms, fearless kings, and warriors bound by sacred oaths. The story begins in the small but immensely powerful city-state of Sparta, where King Leonidas reigned. A warrior as fearless as the god of war himself, Leonidas led an elite force of just 300 Spartan soldiers, each trained from childhood to value death over defeat and battle as the ultimate glory. Opposing them was the vast Persian Empire led by King Xerxes, who had set out to conquer the world. His army numbered 300,000 infantry, cavalry, archers, war elephants, an overwhelming force that had already swept across numerous cities en route to Greece. Now they stood at the doorstep of Sparta. Thermopylae, a narrow passage wedged between mountains and sea, was the gateway to Greece. This was where Leonidas and his 300 warriors made their stand. They had no massive shields, no elephants, no long-range weapons, only discipline, courage, and an unyielding will to embrace death. The Persians laughed at the idea of 300 men stopping them. But as they entered the narrow pass, they quickly realized the battle would be anything but easy. The Spartans stood like stone, struck like thunder, and turned every inch of the narrow road into a graveyard for their enemies. For 3 days, the 300 held back the tide of Persian warriors, each day ending with hundreds of Persian bodies lying still in the valley. On the third day, betrayal changed everything. A cowardly Greek named Ephialtes showed Xerxes a hidden mountain trail that led behind the Spartan position. Realizing they were surrounded, Leonidas dismissed the remaining Greek allies and declared that he and his 300 would stay to fight. Not for victory, but for freedom, for honor, and for future generations to remember their courage. That final day, encircled on all sides, the 300 warriors fought like lions against the monstrous army. As their swords and spears broke, they used their bare hands. One by one they fell but never surrendered. Even when Leonidas collapsed in blood, his eyes still gleamed with fire. A legacy forged in blood and stone from the age of 7, every Spartan child was trained to be a warrior in a brutal program called the Agoge. Only the strongest survived, and the 300 who stood at Thermopylae were the finest Sparta had to offer. The narrow pass of Thermopylae, framed by mountains and sea, became their tomb. On the first day, the Persians charged with arrogance, unaware of the storm they had walked into. The Spartans met them with unbreakable formations, their spears piercing through armor and flesh. Xerxes grew angry. Thinking his soldiers were hesitant, he sent in his best men, only for them to return as corpses if at all. Then betrayal struck. Ephialtes led Persian troops through the hidden trail, encircling the Spartans by nightfall. At dawn, Leonidas knew the end had come. He told his men, "Today we die, but let our death roar so loud that even the future hears it." They fought until their last breath. When their weapons failed, they used their fists. Eye to eye with death, they did not falter. If one fell, another picked up his shield. Their king died among them, his spirit unbroken. The world trembled at their sacrifice. All 300 Spartans were martyred. Xerxes may have smiled, but his soldiers trembled, for they had seen how 300 men held back an empire for 3 days. Their deaths were not in vain. Inspired by their bravery, the divided Greek city-states finally united. And within a year, Greece rose as one, driving the Persian invaders back across the sea. Even today, a stone slab stands at Thermopylae bearing this epitaph in ancient Greek: "Stranger, tell the Spartans that we lie here obedient to their laws." This story teaches us that courage does not come from numbers but from unwavering conviction. Patriotism is not in words, it is proven in blood. Even one determined soul can change history. The tale of Leonidas and his 300 warriors is not just a war story. It is a story of sacrifice, love, duty, and unshakable belief. And even now, when someone stands alone against injustice, when someone says, "I will fight even if I stand alone," in that voice echoes the roar of Thermopylae. Their names are etched in gold across the scroll of history, symbols of bravery, sacrifice, and glory. And their deaths awakened all of Greece, leading to a victory that would echo across the ages.